The night my sister-in-law opened the business I had quietly helped pay for, my husband told me not to embarrass him. 10 minutes later, my father's former office manager texted me, "Don't go upstairs. Come to level B, alone." Marlene was waiting beside my husband's SUV with an old black tool case at her feet. Inside was my dead mother's sapphire ring, and two things that told me Mason wasn't just planning to leave me. He was planning to leave me holding the blame. By the time I finally walked into Brooke's launch party, my husband was still smiling for photographs. He had no idea I knew. And for the first time in 4 years, I had no intention of helping him keep smiling. My name is Ava Bennett. I was 36 years old that night. And until then, the Cole family had built almost their entire comfort around one assumption: Ava will stay quiet. They were right for a very long time. That Friday in October, cold rain had turned downtown Columbus into a blur of headlights and wet pavement. I was driving toward Franklinton, where Brooke Cole, my husband's younger sister, was opening Juniper and Clay, a home staging and decor showroom inside a renovated brick warehouse. Brooke had spent weeks telling people she had built it from the ground up. I knew better. I had given her $82,000 when no lender wanted to fund her idea. I had covered 6 months of rent when construction ran over budget. And 3 months before the opening, I discovered my husband had quietly used money from Bennett Home and Hardware to finish what my personal savings had started. Tonight I was still expected to applaud. My phone rang at 7:28. Patricia Cole, my mother-in-law. I let it ring twice. "Ava, where are you?" "No, hello. I'm about 7 minutes away. You were supposed to be here before 7. It's raining. It's raining on everyone." In the background, I could hear music and glasses clinking. Mason has been greeting people alone. I'm sure he's managing. Silence. 3 years earlier, that silence would have made me start apologizing. Instead, I waited. Patricia finally said, "This is Brooke's night. Please don't arrive in one of your moods." One of your moods. That phrase had covered almost everything in our family. If I questioned money, I was in a mood. If I objected to Patricia rearranging my house, I was in a mood. If Brooke hurt my feelings and I admitted it, I was in a mood. If Mason disappeared for hours and I asked where he had been, I was definitely in a mood. "I'll be there soon." "And you wore the dress Mason bought you." I looked down at the soft taupe fabric covering my knees. 2 weeks earlier, Mason had brought the dress home. I held it against me in our bedroom. "This one. Why? It's elegant." Then he smiled. "And it won't compete with Brooke." I had looked at him. I didn't even hear what he had said. "Yes," I told Patricia. "I'm wearing it." "Good." She hung up. Less than a minute later, Mason called. Of course he did. "How far?" 5 minutes. "There are important people here." "I know. Don't come in tense. I'm driving in a storm." "Ava." There it was. My name as a warning. Then he lowered his voice. "And please don't bring up money tonight." I stared through the windshield. "Why would I?" "You've been asking strange questions." "I've been asking where company money went." "That's exactly what I mean." I almost laughed. He continued. "My sister gets one night where she doesn't have to feel like the poor relation standing beside Ava Bennett. Can you give her that?" The old Ava would have felt guilty. That night I only thought, Brooke lived in my house for almost 4 years. She used my contacts, my savings, my vendors, my company. And somehow Mason had still found a way to make her the victim. "I'm parking now." "Ava." "What?" "Smile when you come in." Hung up. I turned into the parking structure beneath the building. Then my phone buzzed. Marlene Ellis. For 27 years, Marlene had worked at Bennett Home and Hardware. She started as a bookkeeper when my father had 1 store and 6 employees. By the time I was 12, she knew my school schedule. By 25, she knew which suppliers could be trusted, which employees needed help, and whether my father had eaten lunch. After Dad died, she became the person who remembered who I had been before grief turned my life soft around the edges. Marlene did not send dramatic messages, so when I saw hers, I stopped. "Don't go upstairs. Come to level B, alone." I drove down 1 level, then another. Mason's black Tahoe was parked near the elevators. Marlene stood beside it, black slacks, dark green coat, and an old hard-sided tool case at her feet. I parked 2 spaces away. When I stepped out, she looked at me carefully. "How much time do we have?" "Before what?" "Before Mason starts wondering where you are." I checked my phone. "Not much." Marlene nodded toward the case. "Then open it." "Marlene." Open it. I crouched. The latches clicked. The first thing I saw was my mother's sapphire ring. For a second, the parking garage disappeared. 8 months earlier, that ring vanished from the small safe in my bedroom. I had searched every drawer, every coat pocket, every closet. I had called our cleaning service twice. Mason had watched me do it. One night after I started crying in the kitchen, he put his arms around me and whispered, "Ava, it's just a ring. Your mom wouldn't want you making yourself sick over this." I had apologized to him for becoming obsessive. Now the ring was sitting inside a tool case he had intended to use as part of his exit. My father's old stainless steel watch was beside it. That had disappeared too. Underneath them were two airline confirmations. Columbus to Dallas, Dallas to Cancun. Departure 11 to 8 p.m. Passenger 1. Mason Cole. Passenger 2. Kara Whitmore. I knew Kara. Brooks photographer. Stylish. Divorced. Always around. Supplier dinners. Showroom shoots. A July cookout at my house where she somehow knew exactly how Mason liked his bourbon. Once I asked him about her. He had looked at me with concern. Not guilt. Concern. "You know what scares me?" "What?" "I think losing your dad made you terrified people will leave. So now you create threats before they exist." Within 5 minutes, I was defending my mental health instead of discussing why another woman texted my husband after midnight. I looked at the tickets again. "How long?" "About 18 months, Marlene said." I closed my eyes. Did she know he was married? Yes. Good. I didn't want softened truth. Why is she helping us? Because 3 weeks ago, Mason asked her to do something she hadn't agreed to. Marlene reached into the case and pulled out one printed page. It was a draft email addressed to Bennett Home and Hardware employees. The subject line, "Leadership Transition." It said I had chosen to step away from daily operations because of ongoing grief and emotional exhaustion. It praised Mason for quietly carrying the business. It announced that he would be taking over immediately. At the bottom was my name, Ava Bennett. He had used the name he spent 4 years resenting. What did he ask Kara to do? Marlene looked at the ring. He wanted her to help place the jewelry and copies of questionable company expenses where they could be connected to you. I stared at her. I wanted people to think I stole from my own company. He wanted confusion. Same difference. Not quite. Marlene's voice stayed calm. I didn't need everyone to believe one story forever. He needed employees, vendors, and you arguing about what happened long enough for him to leave. I looked at the plane ticket. And Kara, she thought you were leaving him. She believed that part because she wanted to. She knew the affair was wrong. Marlene paused. But when Mason asked her to help make you look unstable, she came to me. I picked up my mother's ring. My hands were shaking. Not badly. Enough. How much money? Roughly $460,000 we can account for. The number hurt. But numbers weren't what I pictured. I pictured the roof repair we postponed at our Westerville store, a delivery truck we had delayed replacing, Christmas bonuses I had told employees we needed to hold until spring. How much went to Brooke? Just over $300,000 counting materials and bills paid through Bennett. I looked up. Does Brooke know? She knows Mason used Bennett money without your approval. Does she know about the jewelry? No. The plan to blame me. No evidence she does. That mattered. Brooke had chosen to ignore theft because it benefited her. That was bad enough. I did not need her to be guilty of everything else, too. I touched the ring. Where is Kara? Upstairs. I looked at Marlene. Mason thinks she's leaving with him tonight. Yes. And she isn't. No. Something cold moved through me. Not satisfaction. Not yet. Just clarity. Marlene watched me. Ava, we can leave. No. We have enough to handle the company Monday. If I leave tonight, Mason tells the story first. We can correct it. I've spent 4 years correcting his version of me in private. I slid my mother's ring onto my right hand. It still fit. I'm done doing that. Marlene said nothing. I closed the case, then picked it up. To understand why I walked upstairs instead of driving away, you need to understand how I became a woman people were comfortable using. 4 years earlier, my father died on a Tuesday morning in March. Thomas Bennett was 64. I had built Bennett Home and Hardware from one neighborhood store into 3 locations around Columbus. Nothing glamorous. Lumber, paint, tools, contractor supplies. Dad liked businesses he could explain to a teenager. People need to fix things, he used to say. Help them fix things. After he died, everyone looked at me as if I was supposed to know what happened next. I had worked in the company since I was a teenager. I knew the stores. I knew our employees. But knowing the work and becoming the person everyone depended on were different things. 3 weeks after the funeral, I still showed up at our annual Habitat for Humanity Volunteer Day. Dad had started the tradition. Canceling it felt worse than attending. Around lunch, I slipped behind the half-framed house where no one could see me. I was trying not to cry. That was where Mason found me. I worked in regional sales for a flooring supplier. I knew his name, nothing more. He stood a few feet away and looked toward the unfinished backyard. Then he said I lost my dad when I was 26. I turned. I'm sorry. It was 12 years ago. I still hate when people say that. Despite myself, I smiled. So why tell me? Because everybody keeps saying it to you and somebody should admit how useless it sounds. I laughed. The first real laugh I had managed in weeks. Mason did not immediately flirt. That was one reason I trusted him. He brought coffee to the store once, then twice. He listened. He remembered Dad's birthday. He helped me close the warehouse one night when 2 employees called in sick. We sat on the concrete floor at nearly 2 in the morning, eating vending machine crackers, because every restaurant nearby was closed. Nothing romantic happened. He simply stayed. Even now, I don't know if that night was real. Maybe it was. That uncertainty became one of the hardest things to live with. Because people want betrayal to make the past simple. It doesn't always. Sometimes the person who hurts you was kind once. Sometimes they meant it. Sometimes they changed. Sometimes they were performing. You may never know which. A year after Dad died, Mason and I married. Small backyard wedding. 40 people. His mother, Patricia, cried through the entire ceremony. Brooke gave a toast about finally having the sister she had always wanted. 3 months later, Patricia and Brooke moved into my house. For 6 weeks, Mason told me over dinner. Not asked. Told. I set down my fork. Both of them. Mom's rent went up. Brooke just left Derek. Why didn't you ask before saying yes? His face changed. Hurt. I didn't realize I needed permission to help my mother. That's not what I said. She worked 2 jobs raising us, Ava. I know. Then I don't understand the issue. That was Mason's gift. Translation. I would say, I want to be consulted before 2 adults move into our home. I would hear, I don't care about your struggling mother. Then I would spend the conversation proving I was not cruel. Patricia and Brooke stayed 3 years and 7 months. Within the first week, Patricia rearranged my kitchen. My coffee mugs moved. My grocery list changed. The larger guest room became Brooke's creative space. My father's old armchair went to the basement. My mother's lamp disappeared behind boxes. One afternoon, I found my mother's blue and white serving bowl filled with dried flowers on the entry table. I picked it up. Patricia appeared behind me. Careful, Brooke arranged that. This belonged to my mother. It's being used. I don't want it used for decoration. She stared at me. Ava, it's a bowl. Yes. Why are you acting like I dug up a grave? Mason walked into the room at that exact moment. I looked at him. He sighed. Ava, if it upsets you, just put it somewhere safe. If it upsets you. That became the pattern. Nobody had to behave differently. I only had to react less. The following Christmas, Patricia wanted family photographs. I paid the photographer, bought matching sweaters, organized the date. At one point, Patricia asked me to take several pictures of her Mason and Brooke. 3 days later, she posted 12 photographs online. I wasn't in any of them. The caption read, "My whole family together. Nothing matters more." I stared at it during lunch at work. Then called Mason. Did you see your mom's post? Yeah, pictures came out great. I'm not in them. You're in some, not the ones she posted. She probably liked those better. She wrote my whole family. Silence. Then, Ava, do you really want me calling my 64-year-old mother to interrogate her about Facebook? No. Then what are we doing? I'm telling you it hurt. And I'm listening. No, you're explaining why it shouldn't. Another silence. Then he said, I think you're under a lot of stress. After enough conversations like that, you stop bringing hurt to people who make you prove it deserves to exist. Brooke's version of the family was different. Patricia wanted authority. Brooke wanted opportunity. One evening, she came to me with a notebook and a bottle of wine. I want to start my own staging company. I liked the idea. That matters. I did not resent Brooke for wanting something of her own. She had a good eye. She understood color and space. She could make a plain living room look warm with 6 objects and a rug. What she didn't understand was money. 3 weeks later, she asked for 82,000. I'll pay you back. When? As soon as I'm profitable. That may take a while. Don't you believe in me? I believe in you enough to ask you to have a real plan, she cried. I gave her the money anyway. 16 months later at Sunday dinner I asked, have you thought about starting payments in January? Brooke froze. Patricia looked at me. Mason kept eating. Brooke said, wow. What? I didn't realize you were keeping score. I stared at her. It was a loan. You said you wanted to help me. I did. So why humiliate me at dinner? There were 5 people at that table. 3 lived in my house for free. I bought the groceries. I had somehow humiliated Brooke. Patricia put down her napkin. I knew this would happen. Knew what? Eventually you'd make sure everyone remembered who has money. I turned to Mason. He rubbed his forehead. Can we not do this tonight? After dinner I asked him what I had done wrong. He said nothing technically. Technically, your tone was cold. I asked about $82,000. There that. What? You always make everything sound transactional when you're scared. By the time he went upstairs, I was wondering whether I had been cruel. That was the real damage. Not winning arguments, losing confidence in my own read of them. Then came my 34th birthday. We had dinner at a neighborhood Italian restaurant Dad used to love. Halfway through, Brooke's boyfriend Caleb stood, then knelt. Patricia screamed. Mason pulled out his phone. Brooke covered her mouth. Everyone applauded. I smiled. Later in the car, I asked Mason, you knew, for a couple weeks. Why tonight? Caleb wanted family around. It was my birthday dinner, and now it's even more special. Did anyone think to ask me? His jaw tightened. Why do you need permission attached to everything? That night, Brooke posted a photograph. Her, Caleb, Patricia, Mason. I was at the edge of the frame, half a shoulder. That picture became my marriage in miniature. My dinner, my birthday, my shoulder. Around the same time, Mason became more involved at Bennett. I was good at people. He remembered names. I knew how to make vendors feel important. Eventually, I made him general manager. He had resisted the decision at first, or pretended to. One night he told me, I can't spend my whole life being Mr. Ava Bennett. I understood more than I should have. People had called me lucky for inheriting the company. They ignored the 14 years I worked there beside my father. I knew what it felt like to have your work disappear behind someone else's name. So I gave Mason more authority. At first, he earned some of it. Then money started moving strangely. Nothing dramatic. A flooring order that never reached a store. A marketing bill twice what Marlene expected. Renovation materials purchased through Bennett that somehow appeared at Brooke's showroom. Marlene noticed. One afternoon, she placed 3 invoices on my desk. I don't like these. I looked at them. You think Mason's stealing? I think I don't like these. That was Marlene. She never jumped past what she knew. So we started looking. Then one Sunday, Mason left his phone on the bathroom counter while he showered. The screen lit. Kara! Last night was worth the risk. I did not open the phone. I waited. When Mason came out, I held it toward him. What does this mean? I looked, then laughed. The warehouse shoot. You told me you were meeting Dan. I did. Until one. Kara came by later. What risk? He stared at me. Then his face softened. I knew that look by then. Concern was coming. You've been getting worse. My stomach tightened. The suspicion. I asked about a message. You accused me of sleeping with her. I never said that. You didn't need to. Mason, do you know how exhausting it is? Living with someone who assumes betrayal every time she feels insecure. For the first time in our marriage, I didn't defend myself. I said, okay. He blinked. Okay. Okay. Then I walked out. That frightened him. After that, he became sweeter. Flowers arrived at work. He planned dinners. I bought me the taupe dress. Once you understand that affection can also be maintenance, sudden tenderness becomes informative. 2 months before Brooke's opening, I came home early. Brooke was upstairs talking on speakerphone. Her door was partly closed. I heard Mason's name, so I stopped. Mason already covered the build-out. A pause. I know where the money came from. Another. No, she didn't approve it. Brooke laughed. He said he'd handle Ava. I stood there in my own hallway. Then Brooke said the sentence that changed me. She won't do anything at the launch. Ava never makes scenes in public. I went downstairs. I stood at the kitchen counter until my breathing slowed. She was right. That was the worst part. My silence had become part of their planning. The next morning, I called Marlene. We stopped wondering whether something was wrong. We started figuring out how much. 3 weeks before Brooke's launch, Kara contacted her. And now I was standing beneath Juniper and Clay, holding the case that proved what Mason intended to do with everything he had taken. I looked at Marlene. "And the showroom screens mirror your laptop." "Yes. 3 things only." She studied me. "Which 3? Brooke's texts." I touched my ring. "This." Then I looked at the airline confirmations. "And those." Marlene nodded. "No spreadsheets. No invoices. Not tonight." I closed the case. "This is a family party." Then I walked upstairs. Juniper and Clay looked beautiful. I hated admitting that. Warm pendant lights hung from exposed beams. Furniture displays filled the warehouse. About 150 people moved between cocktail tables, staged kitchens, and sample living rooms. Local realtors, builders, neighbors, Bennett employees, vendors my father had known. Behind the small stage hung a cream-colored sign. "Juniper and Clay, designed with courage, built with heart." Patricia saw me first. Her eyes went straight to my hand. The sapphire ring. She stopped. "I thought that was missing." So did I. Then Mason appeared. His smile was already in place. He crossed the room, put one hand around my elbow. To anyone else it looked affectionate. His fingers said something different. "Where were you?" "Downstairs." His eyes dropped to the case. "What's that?" "A surprise." Ava. Brooke joined us. White jumpsuit, gold heels, perfect hair. For a second, despite everything, I remembered being proud of her when she first showed me the Juniper and Clay logo on a napkin at my kitchen table. That hurt. She looked at the case. "Oh, what?" She gave a tiny smile. "Nothing, it's just very office." Patricia gave a soft laugh. 4 years earlier, I would have put the case away. That night I looked at Brooke. "Congratulations." Her face softened. "Thank you. I brought you something." That got her attention. "What?" "In a minute." Mason leaned toward me. "We're going outside." "No." He stopped. "Ava." "No." The word barely rose above the music. His face changed anyway. I stepped closer. "Kara and I apparently have something in common tonight." His fingers released my arm. "What?" "Neither of us is going to Cancun with you." The color left his face. Not dramatically, just enough. "You don't know what you're talking about." There it was. Even now, I almost admired his consistency. I leaned closer. I found Mom's ring. His eyes dropped to my hand. "The tickets." "Nothing." "And the email telling Bennett employees I'm too emotionally unstable to run my own company." His mouth opened, then closed. I stepped away. Brooke looked between us. "What's happening?" I set the tool case on a display table, then took a cream envelope from inside. "Your gift." Brooke frowned. "Ava, what is this?" "Open it." Mason said don't. Brooke looked at him. That was the moment the room changed. Not because anyone knew the truth yet, because Brooke heard fear in her brother's voice. She opened the envelope. Inside was one enlarged screenshot. Brooke, she didn't approve it. Mason, no. Brooke, then what happens if she notices? Mason, I'll handle Ava. Brooke, I need the launch clean. Mason, after Friday, none of this matters. Brooke and the showroom. Mason, yours. Stop worrying. Brooke, read it. Then looked at Mason. Not me. "You said." Mason cut her off. "This isn't what it looks like." I almost laughed. Some sentences deserve retirement. Brooke looked at me. "You printed private messages." "Not." "I'm sorry." "Not." "I didn't know." "Private messages." I nodded. "You knew the money wasn't approved." I knew Mason was helping me. With Bennett money. I didn't know everything. "I didn't say you did." Brooke's expression shifted. She had expected me to accuse her of everything. I didn't. That made it harder for her to defend herself. "I knew he was moving money around," she said. "I didn't know he was stealing from you." Caleb had moved closer. He stood several feet behind her. "Brooke." She turned. His face was pale. "Did you know Ava hadn't approved the money?" Brooke looked at him. "It was complicated." "That's not what I asked." "Mason said he would fix it." "So yes." "Caleb, please." He looked around at the showroom, then back at her. "You let me believe you built this." "I did build it. With money you knew wasn't yours." Brooke's eyes filled, and I hate admitting this. For about 10 seconds, watching her panic felt good. After everything she had taken, everything she had dismissed, a part of me enjoyed seeing someone finally refuse to smooth the world for her. I'm not proud of that, but it's true. Then Caleb reached for her hand. Brooke pulled back. What are you doing? I can't do this tonight. Caleb, I don't know who I'm marrying. Don't say that. I looked at her. I asked if you knew. She began crying. Ava did this on purpose. Caleb's expression changed. No. That single word cut through her tears. You knew before Ava walked through that door. He gently removed the engagement ring, placed it on the display table, and walked away. Brooke stared at the ring. Patricia immediately turned on me. You're happy now. I looked at her. No, you destroyed her engagement at her own opening. No, you could have handled this privately. I stared at Patricia. That sentence was almost funny. Privately. Yes. Like the bowl. Her face tightened. Don't start with that old. Like the Christmas pictures. Ava. Like my birthday. You are dragging every family misunderstanding into… Exactly. She stopped. Every single thing was too small when it happened. I looked at her. Too small to mention. Too old to bring up. Too private to discuss outside the house. My voice stayed calm. That's how I disappeared. Patricia's chin lifted. No one made you disappear. I looked toward Marlene. She connected her laptop. The main showroom screen went black. Then a photograph appeared. My mother's sapphire ring. Beside it was a simple image from the resale shop where Mason had used it to secure cash months earlier. No financial breakdown. No explanation. Just the ring. His name. The date. Patricia stopped talking. Brooke looked at Mason. Mason. He stepped toward me. You have no idea why I did that. I held up my hand. You watched me search for this. Ava. You watched me cry. I was going to get it back. You held me in the kitchen and told me my mother wouldn't want me making myself sick over a ring you had taken. Silence. I had imagined this moment many times after discovering the truth. I thought I would shout. I didn't need to. Mason looked around. People were listening. Bennett employees. Brooke's friends. Patricia. I was losing the one thing he cared about most. Control of the room. He pointed at Marlene. She's been turning you against me for years. Marlene raised an eyebrow. I almost smiled. Then Mason tried something else. You want to humiliate me? I looked at him. No. He laughed bitterly. What do you call this? I'm not humiliating you. I paused. I stopped hiding you. The room went quiet. Mason stared at me. The screen changed a final time. 2 plane tickets. Mason Cole. Kara Whitmore. June 28 p.m. A wave of whispers moved through the room. Patricia covered her mouth. Brooke stared at her brother. Mason did not look at me. He searched the room. He found Kara near the back wall. Kara. He said her name too quickly, too personally. Everyone heard. Kara stood still. Mason's eyes moved toward the side exit. So did hers. Then she walked toward us instead. No drama. No phone held above her head. No speech prepared for applause. She stopped a few feet away. Brooke whispered, you. Kara looked at me first. I knew he was married. Good. I believed him when he said your marriage was basically over because it made what I was doing easier to live with. Mason laughed. Oh, please. Kara ignored him. Then he asked me to help make it look like Ava had been behaving erratically with company money. Brooke looked at Mason. What? Kara continued. I wanted me to move the jewelry. Mason stepped forward. That is a lie. Kara pulled out her phone. You texted me the instructions. He stopped. She looked at me. I contacted Marlene the next morning. No apology. No demand for forgiveness. Just the truth. That was enough for tonight. Mason stared at Kara. You were leaving with me. No, you knew the plan. I knew what you told me the plan was. I paid for that trip. Kara almost smiled. With Ava's company card. A few people laughed. Not loudly. That somehow made it worse. Mason looked around the room as though everyone had suddenly become disloyal. Then he looked at me. His voice softened. Ava. The old voice. The one from the beginning. The man sitting beside me in an empty warehouse at 2 in the morning. For one dangerous second, memory tried to reach me before truth did. We have 4 years together. I said nothing. You know me. No. His expression changed. I knew the person you needed me to believe you were. Ava, I loved you. I looked at him. Maybe some version of him once had. Maybe not. It didn't matter anymore. You loved access. He flinched. That's not fair. You had access to my home, my company, my grief, my family name, my money, my trust. I paused. And every time I asked you to respect one of those things, you told me the problem was the way I asked. Mason's face hardened. I was the one keeping Bennett running while you fell apart. That landed. Not because I believed him, because he finally said out loud what he had been building toward for years. The story where Ava Bennett was weak, Mason Cole was necessary. I looked toward several Bennett employees, then back at him. My father died. Yes, I did fall apart. He seemed almost relieved. Then I continued. And I still came to work. His face changed. I still signed paychecks. I still opened stores. I still handled Christmas orders. I still sat with employees when their parents died. I stepped closer. You didn't save me. I stared. You found me grieving. That was the sentence that finally emptied him. Not the money, not Kara, not the ring, because he knew it was true. I had built so much of his importance around arriving when I was weakest. I picked up the black case. This is what happens now. Mason's jaw tightened. You don't decide anything tonight. I decide one thing. What? You no longer work for Bennett Home and Hardware. He laughed. You can't just fire me in the middle of, I just did. You think this business survives without me? Leonard Shaw, one of our longest-serving store managers, had been standing near the kitchen display. He spoke before I could. It survived before you. Mason turned. Leonard didn't move. Then Patricia stepped forward. This has gone far enough. I looked at her. For you, maybe. What is that supposed to mean? It means you and Brooke need to pack. Her face changed. What? The house. Brooke looked up from the ring. You're kicking us out. You came for 6 weeks. Patricia stared. That is our home. No. The word came easily. It's my home. We are family. I looked at her. Then you should have treated me like it. Brooke wiped her face. Ava, where am I supposed to go? That question. After everything. Still, what will Ava do for me? I looked around Juniper and Clay. You're 29. She frowned. You own a showroom. Ava, you told everyone tonight you built this yourself. I paused. So build yourself somewhere to sleep. Someone behind me inhaled sharply. Mason stepped toward me. Leonard moved between us. Move. Leonard shook his head. No. Mason stared at him. This is unbelievable. Leonard looked tired. No, Mason. Then he glanced at me. This is about 4 years late. That hurt more than I expected, because suddenly I wondered how many people had noticed. How many employees had seen Mason speak over me? How many people knew Patricia treated my house like hers? How many had watched Brooke take and take? How many had seen me smile afterward? For 1 second shame rose in me. Then I let it go. I was done carrying that too. Mason looked at me. I'm still your husband. Tonight you stopped being part of my company. I held the black case against my side. You're not coming back to my house, Ava. And whatever happens to the marriage after this, you can explain it without explaining me. I turned, walked toward the elevators. No applause. Thank God. No cheering. No music. My knees shook so badly inside the elevator that I had to lean against the wall. Marlene stepped in beside me. The doors closed. For several seconds, neither of us spoke. Then she asked, "Are you okay?" I laughed once. No. Good. I looked at her. She shrugged. You don't have to be tonight. That was the first kind thing anyone had said to me in years that did not come with instructions about how I should feel next. The following morning, I woke after 4 hours of sleep. At 7:32, my doorbell rang. Marlene stood outside with coffee. Behind her was Leonard. And a moving truck. I stared. Why is Leonard here? He lifted an empty cardboard box. Your dad would haunt me if I let strangers pack his garage tools. I started crying. Not quietly. Not gracefully. I leaned against the doorway while 3 adults pretended there was something extremely interesting about cardboard. For years, I had thought strength meant never letting people see you break. That morning, I was too tired to perform strength. And nothing terrible happened. We packed Mason's things first. Then Patricia's. Then Brooke's. Brooke owned more throw pillows than any human being should. 7 lamps, 3 rugs, boxes of candles, clothes with tags still attached. In the basement, Leonard found my mother's floor lamp behind 2 storage bins. My father's old armchair was dusty and stained. We carried both upstairs. Around 11, Patricia and Brooke arrived. Mason did not. Patricia stepped through the doorway. Stopped. Boxes lined the foyer. You actually did it. Yes. I thought last night was emotion. It was. She looked almost relieved. Then I added, the emotion passed. The decision didn't. Brooke sat on the bottom stair. Her face was swollen from crying. Ava, can I stay until I find a place? No. I'll pay rent. No. You're serious? Yes. She looked around. My friends all know what happened. I understood then. She had somewhere to go. She just didn't want to go there embarrassed. Patricia crossed her arms. We can fix this. I looked at her. What exactly? The family. I almost laughed. I tried fixing the family for 4 years. You never told me you felt this way. I looked toward the kitchen. The bowl. The photographs. The guest room. I did. Not like this. No. I nodded. I said it quietly. Patricia didn't answer. Brooke looked at the boxes. What happens to Juniper and Clay? I don't know. You're going to let it fail. I looked at her. She frowned. What? Listen to what you just said. Silence. You're going to let it fail. I pointed gently toward her. Still my responsibility. She looked down. For the first time, I saw something different in Brooke. Not remorse exactly. Recognition. The faint understanding that the person she had built her safety net around had finally stepped away from underneath it. The showroom is yours, I said. But the money. Mason took money that wasn't his to give. I can't pay all that back. I know. What am I supposed to do? There was a time when that sentence would have immediately activated something inside me. A plan. A check. A phone call. A spare room. A solution. That morning there was nothing. Not cruelty. Space. I don't know, Brooke. She looked at me and finally understood that I meant it. They left before noon. Patricia held herself together. Brooke cried while Leonard loaded the last boxes. I watched from the window. For a moment I wanted to run outside. To tell Brooke she could keep one room for another month. To tell Patricia she didn't have to move everything today. To soften it. To make everybody less uncomfortable. Then I remembered Mason telling me to smile before the launch. I closed the curtain. The next few months were not cinematic. They were mostly exhausting. Bennett Home and Hardware needed cleaning up. Employees needed answers. Vendors needed reassurance. I had meetings I hated. Marlene helped untangle the company money. Mason admitted enough of what he had done that the facts stopped being a daily fight. I refused to make the rest of my life about what punishment he received. Kara gave Marlene the messages she had. Then she moved away. We never became friends. I never needed us to. Truth was not the same thing as forgiveness. Brooke kept Juniper and Clay open for 11 more weeks. She sold inventory, took small staging jobs, started arriving early. For the first time since I had known her, she had to make decisions without assuming someone else would cover the gap. In January, the showroom closed. When Marlene told me I expected satisfaction. Instead, I felt sad. Not enough to rescue Brooke, just enough to mourn what could have been if she had started smaller and learned to hear no. Patricia called once in February. I didn't answer. She left a voicemail. Ava, I don't expect you to call back. Her voice sounded older. I've been angry at you because that was easier. A pause. I spent most of Mason's life telling myself everything he accomplished proved I raised him right. Another pause. I suppose that made it hard to admit when he was wrong. I sat at the kitchen table. She continued. I was cruel to you sometimes. Not maybe. Not if. Sometimes. I think living in your house made me feel dependent on someone younger than me. Her voice broke. And instead of being grateful, I acted like I belonged there more than you did. Then the message ended. No demand. No request for forgiveness. I saved it. We did not become family again. But for once, Patricia had told the truth without asking me to make it easier for her. That was enough. A year after Brooke's launch, Bennett Home and Hardware held an employee appreciation lunch outside our original store. Nothing fancy. Folding tables, barbecue, paper plates, kids running between the garden displays. At the end of the afternoon, our marketing manager announced that we were taking a new staff photograph. Everyone lined up in front of the old Bennett sign. Marlene, Leonard, cashiers, drivers, warehouse staff, store managers. I automatically moved toward the end of the second row. The photographer lowered his camera. Ava, yes, we need you in the center. My first instinct was to laugh and wave somebody else forward. Then I remembered a Christmas picture taken in my own house. A photographer I had paid, sweaters I had bought, Patricia's caption, my whole family together, and I wasn't there. For years I had lived like that photograph. Present, useful, just outside the frame. Ava the photographer called again. I looked at Marlene. She smiled. So did Leonard. I stepped forward, right into the middle. The photographer raised the camera. Everyone ready. I looked around at the people beside me. Nobody needed me smaller. Nobody needed me silent. Nobody needed me grateful for being included in something I had helped build. Ready, I said. The photographer looked through the lens. Ava, maybe half a step to your right. I moved. Perfect. For once, I didn't apologize for being in the way. The camera clicked. And that was the photograph we hung in the break room. Not because I needed to be the center of everything, because I had finally stopped believing I belonged at the edge. So tell me honestly, if you had been in my place, would you have exposed Mason and Brooke at the launch? Or would you have walked away and handled everything privately? Because even now I know exactly what Mason would say. He would say I made a scene. Maybe I did. But after 4 years of being erased quietly, I can live with that. The photographer called it one last time. Center Ava. I smiled. Center is fine.